Very good morning, Daaji. We have a few questions from the seekers. First one is, we have a maxim that states that accept miseries as divine blessings and be grateful for them. The question is, if one is feeling miserable, how does one cultivate the attitude of gratitude?
Very difficult. When you are faced with miseries in everyday life, to cultivate gratitude, it's a big challenge. But if you can cultivate during such tough times, I think you have learned the lessons of life. You have graduated now, say. Then nothing can shake you after this. So where do we begin? First I have to accept. If I don't accept the problem, how am I ever going to solve the problem? Secondly, if I rebel, still the problem will remain. And the lesson that I am supposed to learn from that problem will never materialize. You will suffer without taking the benefits of that suffering. So we have to develop a little higher level of maturity within us, that whatsoever comes my way, I am not fully cognizant of what is to be the outcome of this problem. But we seek God's help and say, I'm willing to go through it. Let me see the end of the tunnel. I don't want to escape from this. Let me go through it. Whatever lesson nature has planned for me, let me learn. At the same time, try to solve the problem, try to solve the riddle. And there are many problems. For example, wife running away with someone. How do you solve that problem? Or husband having multiple affairs, and you know it very well, whole family knows it very well, and you are really going through a miserable state. How do you solve the problem? There are no solution to these problems. Break it as soon as possible. If you continue on the old orthodoxy that I am married and forever for another 100 lives with the same fellow, forget it. Even in Satyuga, they did not give the name divorce, but they did exist. So, and what other miseries a husband or a wife can have in a family life? These days, poverty or lack of funds is the least of the problem for many people. The biggest problem is harmony within the family, and that makes everyone miserable. The cause, whoever be the cause, even that person is also suffering. They know it very well. So the idea is to surrender, and not surrendering as a defeat, but to accept it maturity and then see what can be the outcome, the solution of. Meditate just before bedtime. Offer the situation to Babuji and see how He helps us sail through each situation. And don't be ashamed of it. Put it forward to Him with a lot of heart. I leave it to you. I leave it in your capable hands. And be at peace. When you are sided with such a personality, to me, I don't differentiate between Rama, Krishna, Babuji, Lalaji. To me, the same nature's power. We give different names. When we side with such an extraordinary dharma, the supporter of dharma, then you cannot lose. The end is always glorious. End is not the end of the day or end of the month. And end is also not the last breath that we take. End can happen even the very next moment. I don't mean the death. I mean end as a solution to the entire existential problem.
Thank you, Daaji. There's another question. What is the true meaning of purity and how to follow or include it in the best manner?
To remain within your nature. So for that I have to understand what is my truest nature and remain with that. What is the meaning of sin, S-I-N, sin, papam? It only means that whenever we deviate from the source, whatever causes that aberration in my relationship with the truth is impure. Now put it in a very practical way. When I am able to receive the gift, a spiritual gift, and I am absorbed in that state, anything that takes away is impure. Anything that can support is full of purity. So I must encourage all those activities, I must encourage all those thoughts, that attitude, that association of people that can embellish my spiritual life. They are fruitful, they are like tonic to my spiritual life. Anything that spoils it is not good. So, to me, a sanctified life, anything and everything that supports my main purpose is full of purity. That supports my pure ways of my existence. If you have a goal which is not so evolutionary in nature, for example, you want to rob a bank, there also you can become like Robin Hood for a good cause perhaps and say, oh, I would like to build 100 ashrams. Is that a pure thought? Morally maybe, but legally it's not safe. So wherever there is contradiction, even though it may be a moral thing to do, but it is not approved by the society, it is not approved by the normal codes of conducts, so we avoid them, see. Every time we indulge in wrong thing, heart becomes heavier. becomes impure. Heart, to remain pure, we have to cultivate those good habits, good cultivation of thoughts, so the remembrance of God. There is nothing better to enhance that purity than the remembrance of your beloved. Purity to me is it's incremental understanding of my inner nature. Purity to a child, what can you make the child understand what purity is? They have no concept of purity. As they grow, they'll say this poop or this is, I don't like it, it smells. As they grow, they understand the physical purity and impurities. When we talk of purity in spirituality, we are not talking of external purities. Though the external purity can enhance my inner purity for sure, but my inner purity never depends on the external one. Even a simple thought for a second can ruin my purity. It doesn't take much. You remember no less a person than Chariji when he was in Shahjahanpur with Babuji Maharaj for almost 2 months or so. So he was absolutely drenched in that remembrance, being with him all the time. It creates a certain level within you. You can think of nothing else, only you are there, you are in that state. But one day he had to go out for official work to Lucknow or Bareilly, I don't know which station, but it's not important where he went. And he saw the hoarding of a movie star. And for a moment he developed sensuousness. He's there in one of his books. So one has to be very, very careful if it can topple a man of that caliber and be attracted towards a film star with sensuousness. Imagine ordinary people. So it's bound to happen. But as long as we have this kavach or the protection of the great master, this kavach can be formed and strengthened only with love, love-filled remembrance. That's all. There is no other solution. One last question. Okay.
In order to reach our highest potentials, do we surrender our mind to our heart? What happens to the heart and mind field then? And what is the fastest way to submit our mind or heart?
This is a very theoretical question. Though we often talk of mind and heart as though they are separate, in reality they are not. The mind is the superficial part of the heart, and heart is the deepest core of your mind. So they are both connected actually. Dr. Vardachari, in one of his talks, I would like, if you can Google, you'll find this talk, Eclipse of Conscience. He explains it beautifully that our heart says so, mind says so, but they are not separate entities. The beauty is when there is the eclipse of both the mind field and the heart field. There is no more confusion. Both are in sync. That's what Swami Vivekananda also used to emphasize, that mind is not your enemy. Babuji also says, mind is not your enemy. It can be your best friend. Meditation helps us to make the mind so regulated that it becomes our best friend. See? And whatsoever you think happens then. See? Sankalpa Sakti is a byproduct of well-regulated mind. Well-regulated mind is always in sync, is always centered in meditation. There is no point meditating and become centered, and then after the meditation you are off-centered. It's like an earthquake, and your center is moved, and you become irritable whole day, and then again do the cleaning. This practice will go on and on and on without really taking any benefit. See? Once we are centered after meditation, we try our best, first of all, not to get off-centered, and second, how to increase the intensity of the centeredness or meditative mind. So meditation is to create a meditative state which we can prolong it as much as we can during daytime, and if possible try to enhance it during daytime with few minutes of micro meditations. People say, what is this micro meditation? So I give examples from my own life. When you're in the office, you're busy with people. But there are moments when you're all alone by yourself. Close your eyes for a moment and connect very deeply within yourself. Or if your associates are also meditating, tell them, let's sit down 2 minutes. Let's take a break for 2 minutes. Or if nothing is possible, you all go to bathrooms, no? Pretend to use bathroom. Go for 2 minutes, center yourself in the toilet and come back. So there is no limit to how far we can center and intensify our absorbency. And absorbency in not nothing, not in the void, but in the remembrance with a lot of love. Because remembrance is a very tricky business. When you hate someone, when you had a fight with your beloved, imagine the remembrance on that day. Remembrance full of love versus remembrance full of anger, hatred. So counterproductive remembrance, we should not get into that rut. But remembrance of a sort where heart melts all the time. See.